Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're rated about 8:30, so we're going to go ahead and get the meeting started here. If you can find your way to your seats. My name's Brian. I'm an alcoholic. Welcome to the Conscious Contact Speaker Group. We got our hoodies on display over here, stage right. So if you want to get some hoodies, you can see me, see any home group member after the meeting. This group is involved in service. We do have H&I commitments. We have a running commitment every Sunday night in Quakertown, so if you're interested in getting out to the front lines and delivering a message of hope and recovery to the sick and suffering, we get up there. It's pretty casual. We usually get a group of 4 or 5 of us that go up there and just share 5-10 minutes each and just kind of have an impromptu meeting up there. So it's a good time, really. I guess that's about it. I'd like to bring up the world's greatest chairperson, Kara.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Kara. I'm alcoholic. Welcome home. This is a 1-hour speaking meeting that meets every Saturday evening at St. Paul's Lutheran Church, 301 North Main Street, Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Food and fellowship starts at 8 p.m. and speaker 8:30 p.m. The business meeting for this group meets every Saturday at 7 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. right here. Please come early and join us. The purpose of this group is to provide a consistent message of hope and recovery through God reliance and service to others through the practice and teachings of the 12 steps. We record all speakers so that others may benefit from their message of recovery. If you wish not to be recorded, simply ask. This is an open meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. The group would like to welcome everyone, especially newcomers. Is there anyone new from out of town that would like to introduce themselves with their first names? Please raise your hand.
Hi, we're the alcoholic first time here.
Welcome.
Hey, Tyler, alcoholic.
I'm Mills, I'm alcoholic.
Welcome.
I'm Kathy, alcoholic.
Welcome, Kathy.
I'm Veronica, I'm alcoholic.
Hi, Veronica. Welcome. It's hard for me to see, so in the back. Welcome, Barbara. Welcome all. The Conscious Contact Speaker Group encourages sponsorship. Would anyone with the working knowledge of the 12 steps and is willing to sponsor, please raise your hands. Are there any announcements for the good of AA? Our sister group is a big book study meeting that meets every Thursday, 7:30 p.m. just up the street at Salem, UCC Church, 186 East Court Street, Doylestown. Coffee is on at 6:15 p.m. We have meeting lists and big books on easy terms. Please see me or any home group member after the meeting. If you cannot afford a big book, the Conscious Contact Speaker Group will give you one at no charge. Anyone willing to make donations for the purpose of big books and CDs to help those who cannot afford them can put donations in the jar on the table marked Big Book and CDs donations. All CDs are available free of charge. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Conscious Contact Speaker Group of Doylestown, Pennsylvania, and our Facebook group. Subscribe and share. You can find our speakers there. Join our Facebook page to keep informed and share upcoming events. Now I'd like to bring up Scott. He's going to read the Just for Today Prayer of Recovery. Let's give him a warm welcome.
Let's see. Scott, alcoholic. Stop here. Oh, just right there, right here. I got it. Okay, we're good. All right. Just for today, prayer recovery. Just for today, I will be agreeable. I will look as well as I can, dress becomingly, talk low, act courteously, criticize not one bit, not find fault with anything, and not try to improve or regulate anyone except myself. Now James is going to come up and read the preamble.
I'm James, alcoholic. There it is. All right, Alcoholics is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is the desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We're self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution. Does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. I've asked JJ to come do the 12 steps.
My name's JJ, I'm an alcoholic. Welcome home, everybody. This is the 12 steps of recovery. First, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. Second, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Third, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. Fourth, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Fifth, we admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Sixth, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7, humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for the knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to other alcoholics and to practice these principles in all of our affairs. Now Kara's going to come up and introduce our speaker.
The seventh tradition states every AA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. At this time, I would like to pass the basket. We have no dues or fees, but we have expenses. This group provides many services. Your donations cover food, rent, big book CDs, events and workshops, etc. There is absolutely no smoking on church property. Please take a moment to silence all cell phones and limit movement during the meeting to avoid distractions. Now, I'd like to introduce the speaker as a good friend of the Conscious Contact Speaker Group. Let's give a warm welcome to Lovey. She came all the way from Bermuda.
Well, hello, everyone. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Guys, my name is Lovey Russo, and I'm alcoholic. And it's only by the grace of God and Alcoholics Anonymous that I'm alive, sober, and recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. And what that means, right? What that means is that I get to be useful in my life today. What that means is that I get to be a wife, a mother, a daughter, and a sister. What that means is that I'm not obsessing over my next drink. And it also means that I didn't wake up hungover. I'm just going to do this. I have a grand sponsor. It's tough being short. I have a grand sponsor who absolutely insists that I do this. Rule 62. Don't take yourself so damn seriously. And guys, I have to remember that even though I'm at the podium tonight, I am just I'm just a regular alcoholic, right? I have foibles and faults, and I've got all sorts of issues that aren't related to this program. So I'm just like everybody else. Just before the meeting started, I got a text from my sponsor, and he reminded me not to suck. Because he said to me, I might know some of these people. And so I'm going to try really hard not to suck. But if any of you have heard me speak before, I would not at all be insulted or upset if you decided to leave. That is absolutely okay with me. Guys, I have a sobriety date. It is September the 7th of 2015. And in that very, very short amount of time, there's been no need or obsession to pick up a drink or a drug. I have a sponsor who is the bane of my existence, who has a sponsor, who has a sponsor, who has a sponsor ad infinitum. And I sponsor sponsors. And this one time I complained about a GSR meeting, now I have a service sponsor. So I beg of you to be really careful what you complain to your sponsors about. Let's see. I have a home group. I'm a member of good standing in my home group. It is known as the Global Main Purpose Group. It is a virtual meeting, and we meet Tuesday nights at 7 p.m., and we are a big book study. So if you would like to join us, please, 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 by all means do so. But due to the power of amends, right, the power of amends, I get to live on the beautiful island of Bermuda. And if you guys find yourself coming to my beautiful island, whether you're flying in or coming in on a cruise and you want to go to a meeting, please, please, please let me know. I am more than happy to make that happen for you, or to take you to a meeting myself. And conversely, if you find yourself in New England, if you're in Connecticut for whatever reason, that same invitation applies. So, I got to tell you, I'm extremely grateful to Alcoholics Anonymous, right? Grateful is what I am, and gratitude is what I do. For me, AA stands for action and accountability, right? I don't get struck sober sitting in a room of Alcoholics Anonymous. There's work that I have to do, right? I need to do the work as outlined in this book. And when I do that, I am rendered sober. But there's work that I always, always have to do. Now, I can only share with you my experience. I have absolutely nothing else to offer. Nothing, right? So I'm going to share with you what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now, right? And that experience is mine. And with that comes, my story and the way it all unfolds. So guys, when I first walked into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, I was looking at 16 years in federal prison. 16 years in federal prison, right? And I would hear you guys sitting in these rooms, right? Early in the morning, 7 a.m., and you're all happy and cheery, and you look like Ron, and you're smiling. And you would say ridiculous things like, "Hi, my name is so-and-so, and I'm a grateful alcoholic." Like, what is wrong with you guys? Right? It's too early in the morning for that kind of nonsense, and you're all grateful. I mean, guys, I was not grateful, and I wasn't happy, and I certainly didn't want to be in AA. I didn't come to AA to stop drinking. I came to AA so you guys could teach me how to drink safely, right? You were the professionals. You're sitting in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. You could teach me how to drink like a lady, whatever that meant. You could teach me how to drink, those funky Caribbean drinks with like chunks of fruit and umbrellas. See, guys, I didn't drink like that, right? I drank whiskey straight from my car. It was sitting underneath my car seat. And it's 900 degrees outside, and I'm slurping this stuff back, right? You see, that's the way that I drank. And I thought you guys could really teach me how. But did you do that? Did you? No. You showed me these things called the steps. And you told me that drinking was not my problem. What? You told me drinking was not my problem, but my solution. And I argued with you, right? I argued with you. I would say things like, well, that's not what my doctor said. And that's not what the police said. That's certainly not what the judge said, right? My husband, with frothy emotional appeals, spittle flying from his mouth. Why do you drink so much? Why? Stop drinking. If you loved me, if you loved our kids, you would stop drinking, right? And he wasn't wrong. I loved my family. I loved my kids. I would die for them. I just couldn't stop drinking for them. Now, I absolutely love alcohol. If I had known my last drink was going to be my last drink, I would have thrown a party. I swear to God. I own a big white party tent. I had a bartender on retainer. I would have called the media. I would have served or puke-friendly food, because that's always really important. And but that's not the case, right? That's just not the way it happened. And I absolutely loved a 21-year-old single malt scotch, right? The smokier, the better. I loved the way that scotch looked in a crystal glass as the sun shone through it, right? The way it refracted. I loved the way that it smelled. The smokier, the better. And I loved the way that it tasted, right? But more importantly, I loved its effect on me, right? See, alcohol did something for me, right? It did something to me, like it does to everybody. It gets you drunk. But it did something for me, right? It always made me taller, made me younger or older, depending on where I was in my alcoholic career. I would like to say that, it made me a better kisser and a better dancer. It certainly lowered a lot of inhibitions, right? Alcohol allowed me to interact with all of you, right? Alcohol was that thing that bridged the gap. Alcohol provided that ease and comfort. And alcohol was that thing that allowed me to be me, because I didn't know who me was, right? Now, my very first spiritual experience was with alcohol. Booze is magical. Booze is magical. And in a letter to Bill Wilson, Carl Jung wrote, Spiritus contra spiritum, right? God the Spirit, capital S, versus alcohol the Spirit, small s. And there's a reason why alcohol is called a spirit, right? It's derived from an Arabic word, al-gal, meaning body-eating spirit. I don't know about you guys, but when I was drinking, alcohol consumed me mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. I was nothing but an empty shell of the person that I should have always been. Right? Now, the other thing you guys told me was that I had a spiritual malady. What? A spiritual malady. You see, guys, I was never able to be okay with who I was, and I always felt different, always felt like an outsider. Now, I have two younger sisters, and we look exactly the same, except they're a little taller and much thinner, but because of that, I don't need Botox, because the fat plumps out all my wrinkles, and they're going to need Botox pretty damn soon. So, just saying. So I always felt different, right? Always felt different. And when we were little kids, I would push our faces up to the mirror and scrutinize the differences on our faces, convinced, right, that I was somehow mixed up at birth. And I was born, I was a kid during the early 70s, and it was the time of, the body snatchers, alien invasion and abduction. It was the bionic man, right? All of that kind of stuff. And I really thought that all of the adults in my life, or all the people in my life, had been replaced by something else. And I was the only human being around. And I had all of these thoughts, and I'm 5 years old, right? I'm in kindergarten. I could have really used a drink then, right? Could have really used a drink in kindergarten. You see, my life has been a series of events that just tries to reinforce that I'm different, unique, separated from all of you. And I didn't understand that until I walked into these rooms. And it was you guys that told me that I had that spiritual malady. And you gave me words to describe it. You told me I was irritable, restless, and discontent. And for the first time in my life, I actually had words to describe how I was feeling. And you also told me that that spiritual malady was a giant God-sized hole in the middle of my heart, right? And that alcohol filled that hole perfectly. Now, I tried to fill it with lots of other things, right? Food, sex, shoes, lots of shoes. In fact, on my way here, there was a DSW, and I stopped, and I got new shoes. And my sponsor has me on a shoe diet, and I had to actually fess up and say, oh, by the way, I bought some shoes along the way. So alcohol filled this spiritual malady. Now, guys, having a spiritual malady does not make me alcoholic, right? I am married to this really, really great man, and he has a spiritual malady, but he's not alcoholic. He abuses alcohol, but just not the way that I abused alcohol. So I left Bermuda yesterday. And I flew into JFK, and I have a home in Connecticut. But when I left Bermuda, right, there was a bottle of Corona beer with a slice of lime and a wine stopper in it. Like, drink the beer, dude. Like, what is wrong with you? He went golfing. He came back. He had 2 swigs, put the cap on it, and put it in the fridge. Right? I don't understand that. That doesn't make any sense to me. But he's not alcoholic. You see, guys, what makes me alcoholic is that I have a physical allergy to alcohol, right? And when I drink alcohol, I have this phenomenon of craving. The other part of my illness is that I have this weird mental obsession. And I used to think that, it was the 8th or the 9th drink that got me drunk. And if I could stop drinking at, 2, right? I'm going out with the girls, I'm just going to have 2 drinks, right? That never worked. Okay, no more than 4 drinks. No more than 6. I promise, no more than 6, right? But 6 drinks would come and go, 7, 8 drinks would come and go, and my bottle is empty again, and I can't figure it out. I don't understand why this keeps happening. I woke up every morning saying, I'm not going to drink today. I swear I'm not going to drink today. I'm not going to drink today. And I meant it. It was honest, right? And by 11 a.m., I got a bottle to my lips, and I don't know why that's happening. I can't understand it. But see, it was you guys that told me that when I drink, I trigger this allergy and the phenomenon of craving. And the first drink insists on the second, which demands the third and screams to the fourth, and so on and so on and so on, right? You guys told me it was the first drink that got me drunk, and I argued with you, right? I would sit there and go, no, it's the 8th drink that gets me drunk. No, Lovey, it's the first drink. No! I now understand. It's the first drink that gets me drunk because I can't stop drinking. Once I start, there is no off switch. And I'm going to drink until my bottle is empty, right? I stop drinking under 2 conditions. I run out or I pass out. And I don't run out, right? You guys just had some snow, right? Last week in Connecticut, there was some snow. And I remember on the eve of a nor'easter, in the liquor store, package store, whatever it's called, buying a case of booze. Everybody else is in the grocery store buying bread, eggs, milk, right? They're stocking up for like Snowmageddon. And I'm buying booze. There's no food in the house. But Mama's good. Mama's got booze, right? Now, guys, all of that would be absolutely irrelevant if I didn't pick up that first drink, right? That first drink. But see, I have a body that won't let me drink and a mind that won't let me stop. Oi, there's the problem, right? There's my problem. My brain will tell me, Lovey, you could have another drink. Nothing's going to happen. It'll be just fine. It'll be just fine. And you guys tell me, no, if you're alcoholic and you have a physical allergy, you can never have a drink safely. Today, as a result of the 12 Steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, today, as a result of listening to you guys, I understand full well, right, without any lurking notion whatsoever that I can ever drink safely, right? That is behind me. But it took a while to get there. So my daughter got married in October. And she had a very, very lovely wedding. It was up in Massachusetts. It was quite lovely. And during the planning process, her new mother-in-law, we're sitting around the table planning, her new mother-in-law says, so she knows I don't drink, and she says, so Lovey, are you going to participate in the champagne toast at the kid's wedding? No. She says, come on, really? No. She says, well, why not? Well, because I don't drink, period. She goes, but it's the kid's wedding. Surely you can have a sip of champagne. She says, now what would happen if you had a sip of champagne? This is what would happen. First of all, guys, I do not understand the verb to sip, right? That is not part of my vocabulary, right? I chug, I gulp, right? I have 2 going at once, right? I would have had 3 or 4 flutes of champagne, and then I would have had emptied 3 or 4 bottles of champagne. Wine is fine, but liquor's quicker. Now I'm into some amber-colored fluids. Tequila makes my clothes fall off, right? I would have probably jumped out of the wedding cake. Those groomsmen were really fine, right? And I would have gotten my inner cougar on and started making out with them. I would have had an epic fight with my mother-in-law. My husband would have been humiliated and embarrassed. And I would have ended up in the hospital in state-sponsored jewelry. Because that's what happens when I drink. I know that today, right? But my brain is going to tell me, no, Lovey, it's okay. You can drink. You can drink safely, right? That's the cunning, baffling feature of this illness. Now, some of you know I have 6 kids. 6! I had 6 kids in 5 years. That's alcoholic. And I had all of those babies without any kind of medication or pain relief during labor. Yeah, that's smart. And To this day, I have absolute no relative memory of the pain or discomfort of childbirth. None, right? You want to know why? Because God tricks women into having more babies with amnesia, right? I forget how awful childbirth can be when it's unmedicated, right? That's what God does. So if you've been with a woman who has delivered a baby without medication, without pain relief, or if you've delivered a baby without pain relief, why would we do that a second time? Why? Because I forgot, right? So when I'm in that, that second labor, it's like, oh yeah, I forgot how awful this is, right? But now I'm in the middle of it. I have no choice, right? The fifth baby, oh yeah, like what is wrong with me? I forget. And my drinking is like that. I forget. Now, page 24 of our book sort of deals with that. It says, we are unable at certain times to bring into our consciousness with sufficient force the memory of the suffering and humiliation of even a week or a month ago. We are without defense against that first drink. And that is my truth. I'm without defense because I cannot remember how awful my drinking gets, right? Guys, I had an esophageal bleed. I'm lying on my living room floor, bleeding out. My daughter finds me. And yet I don't remember what that's like, right? I don't remember. My brain tells me, oh, it's wonderful. You get a little glow. You get a little sexy. You get a little flirtatious. It's all good. That's not what happens when I drink, guys. The cops are called, right? I end up with fabulous steel bracelets, right? Normal people don't wear handcuffs, right? They just don't. Oy. So, my mother is still alive. She's in her mid-80s. And she's very, very proud of the fact that all of her babies slept through the night from the moment we got home from the hospital. And I know you know how she did that, right? She put whiskey in our baby bottles. Hey, it was post-World War II stuff, right? That's what they did. And she also would put whiskey on our gums when we were teething. And we'd go outside and play in the snow, and she'd make us like her version of a hot toddy. And then, as a precursor to hand sanitizer, she used to douse our hands in whiskey. I remember getting whiskey underneath my fingernails. Who needs Kentucky Fried Chicken when I got whiskey underneath my fingernails, guys? Now, she also made this concoction, and she still does. She feeds it to all of her little old widow friends, right? Because she claims it staves off COVID. She claims it staves off, the flu and general malaise and whatever. And it consists of grilled onions, vinegar, and whiskey. Horrific, repugnant stuff, right? But remember, it was the 70s. We were latchkey kids, and that magic elixir was supposed to go down every day by a specific volume. And I had to deal with my sisters, right? Already cunning and manipulative. For a quarter, which was a lot of money way back in the day, I would take their dose of homemade whiskey medication. Guys, win-win for me, right? Because I made 50 cents a day, and I got 3 doses of whiskey. Oh, it was amazing. So in our book, in More About Alcoholism, there is a story about Jim the salesman, right? And Jim is a car salesman, and in the 30s, they didn't have auto dealerships like they do now, and so Jim was taking his car out looking for a buyer. He gets hungry, and he stops at a restaurant, and he orders a glass of milk and a sandwich. And he orders a second one, because, it's the Depression, tiny little sandwiches. And then he says, suddenly, right? That's how quick it showed up. Suddenly, the thought came to him that if he were to put an ounce of whiskey in his milk, it wouldn't hurt on a full stomach. And when we read that in meetings, the newcomers are like, oh, that's so gross. Who puts whiskey in their milk? Oh my God, me, right? And the chairperson's ignoring me completely. Me. See, guys, that's the way my drinking started, right? I got whiskey in my milk. And then whiskey was in my soda or with ice. And then it was whiskey on the rocks to whiskey neat until finally it was whiskey underneath my car seat in the middle of the summer. It's 900 degrees outside, and I'm drinking that no matter what. Man, oh man, oh man. So I hear a lot of people talk about the progression of their illness, right? And how consequences eventually started to catch up with them. Well, my consequences started from the very beginning. So my first drink on my own, without any parental involvement, I was 14. I got blackout drunk. I have absolutely no memory of that night, none whatsoever, and I got pregnant. I'm 14 years old and I'm pregnant. And against my will and my wishes, that baby was placed for adoption at birth. Right? I was a minor child. Things were decided for my benefit. And without any tools, right? I turned to the only thing that had ever provided any source of ease and comfort, and that was alcohol. Alcohol is reliable, guys. I know exactly how much to drink to get me where I need to be. But alcohol began to turn on me in a really, really big way. So I got expelled from high school. I was raped at gunpoint. I drove cars too fast. I started experimenting with non-conference approved dry goods. I engaged in a sexual affair with a man who was more than 3 times my age. I was arrested 3 times before I was 16. Now, none of that stuff made me alcoholic, guys. None of it made me alcoholic. I'm alcoholic because I have a physical allergy and I have that mental obsession. But alcohol played a really big role in my life. And, the book says that we have philosophical convictions galore, right? I had these philosophical convictions, right? I was raised well. To my knowledge, my sisters have never been in state-sponsored jewelry, right? They may have been in handcuffs for other reasons, but that is none of my business. So, this is where it all went downhill. I was a heavy haul helicopter pilot. That's pretty sexy stuff, huh? Right? A chick with a stick. And my first job as a helicopter pilot, I was flying for the New Jersey State Troopers, right? I flew EMS. Well, I was already alcoholic then, and they didn't really like pilots who drank, so I got fired. Okay, that's fine. So being alcoholic and manipulative, guess what? I found a much better flying job. I started logging, right? You see the show X-Men, right? And they always have those helicopters that, the needle is buried in the red and the thing is going to explode or it's going to crash. Well, that's because they always do it wrong. So anyway, I find a job and I'm flying out in the Northwest doing logging, pulling high-value timber out of the bush. Perfect job for me. 10 days in, home whenever I want. But you know what? Guess what we do? We drink hard all night and fly hard all day. But this one day, I flew drunk. And I knew it was absolutely the wrong thing to do. I knew that. But I was willing to risk the lives of babies sleeping in their cribs so that none of you would know that I had a drinking problem. Right? It was a beautiful September day. Nothing happened. I landed that aircraft without incident. And during that 2-minute cool-down period, I'm just sitting there going, oh, right? Baffled by what I had just done. In 30 years of professional aviation, I had yet to cross that line, and I crossed it. The authorities are on their way and tumble out of my aircraft onto the tarmac. And our book talks about that jumping off place, right? Where we would know loneliness like never before. And we would realize that we couldn't live with alcohol, we couldn't live without it, and we would wish for the end. And I was there. Now, in the state of Connecticut, we have license plates that start with 2 letters, a dash, and then something else. I don't know if you guys have noticed this yet, but I'm just a wee bit dramatic, right? And I'm crying and I'm carrying on because the police are coming, and you know what? That's one more trip in state-sponsored jewelry, and now what am I going to do? And I look like Tammy Faye Baker, right? I got streams, columns of mascara running down my face. And when I wiped the tears away, the car parked in front of me had a license plate that said AA-something else. And that was the very, very first time I recognized a sign from God. And I crawled into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. Now, my higher power, whom I call God, has a wicked sense of humor and uses what I call God shots to get my attention, right? You see, alcoholism was the baseball bat that God said, you better take notice. You see, I came into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous hoping that you guys would teach me how to drink like a lady. But instead, I found God first as the gift of desperation, right? I'm out on that proverbial metaphorical ocean, and it's dark and it's stormy. I'm drowning. Waves are cresting over my head, right? The desperation of drowning men. And you guys show up in a life raft. And you throw me a line and I grab onto it and you pull me to safety. If it had been a beautiful sunny day in Bermuda and the seas were calm and I could see the water is clear turquoise blue and I could see the bottom, and you guys showed up with that same life raft and that same life preserver, you know what? I still think I have options. I still think I have a choice. I still think I know what's best for me. And I'm going to say to you, oh, why don't you come back when you have a pretty blue boat? Oh, why don't you come back when you have like a really pretty magenta life preserver? Because I don't like the one you have. You know, it's got barnacles on it and it's kind of moldy. I don't like that. See? Because I still think I have options. Absolute hopelessness is what I needed. Then my next higher power became a group of drunks, right? I'm sitting in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous at 7 o'clock in the morning and I'm listening to you guys laugh. And I'm listening to you guys, absolutely insist on enjoying life, saying things like, hi, I'm a grateful alcoholic. And I didn't like any of you guys, but I heard remarkable things happening, right? I heard how you got your lives back together, how your legal woes were being expunged, how your marriages were being, fixed, how IRS debts were being paid off, how you were able to buy your first house, right? How you were able to take your child to, their first daddy-daughter dance, right? Those things were just absolute miracles as far as I was concerned. And then my next higher power was good, orderly direction. I started listening to you guys. And you said crazy things like, Lovey, get a sponsor. Somebody who has experience in the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous from the big book and do the work. Lovey, start living your life by spiritual principles. Like, I don't even know what that means. And you said, it's easy. Don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal, do the next right thing. Wake up in the bed you're supposed to wake up in. Wake up in the bed you're supposed to wake up in with the person you're supposed to wake up next to. Oh. See, I learned how to be a wife and mother from all of you guys. I learned how to be a sober woman in Alcoholics Anonymous from you. I had no clue how to live life. And then, right, as a result of doing this work, I had a spiritual awakening. Mine was of the educational variety, right? One of my biggest resentments, it's still on my resentment list, is I didn't have that, right, that white light moment that everybody talks about. Mine was of the educational variety. But it grows and it nurtures and it changes every single day, right? So the universe as we understand it is what, like 13 billion years old? I'm 60. Guys, what do I know in comparison to 13 billion years, right? And that allows me a certain amount of perspective, right? I'm not really that important. I just got back from the Galapagos Islands. It was a bucket list trip. And it took forever to get there. I had to fly from Bermuda to JFK, JFK to Atlanta, Atlanta to Quito, Quito to Guayaquil, Guayaquil to Galapagos. And then I'd get on a bus, and then a boat, and then another boat. But the point of this was, when I'm standing in that, on those beautiful islands, right, not another human being to be seen, how absolutely insignificant I am, right? This is God's creation right in front of me, unspoiled by humans. That is absolutely amazing. I'm also one of 7 billion people on this planet, right? And if something should ever happen to me, maybe 100 people would be affected by my death. Probably a lot less than that, but I'm an alcoholic. I like to exaggerate things, right? So that allows me this opportunity for perspective, right? I am not that significant in the overall scheme of things. I am just one of many, and that is really, really cool. Now, I also know that all of my problems, all of them, are all my own doing, even though they're not inherently necessarily orchestrated by my hand, right? See, today it's all about my perception, my reaction, and my attitude. It's how I behave, right? It's what I do. It's how I behave when I'm standing in line behind a little old lady at Stop and Shop who's paying in coupons and pennies, right? And I've got someplace I need to be. So what do? Well, what did the book teach me to do? What did you guys teach me to do? Well, first, recognize I'm being impatient. That's not hard to do, right? Because I'm standing there like this. Right? Okay, I'm impatient. The book then tells me that I need to ask God for the opposite behavior, right? Which is to be patient. And I need to execute that. All right, so now I'm going to be patient. The book then tells me to resolutely turn my attention to somebody that I could help. Excuse me, ma'am. Can I help bag your groceries? Can I take them out to the car for you? See, I have no reason whatsoever to be upset and angry with her. It's my fault. I know it's Little Old Lady Tuesday. I know that's the only time she can get to the store. I know she's maximizing her budget. I'm at fault because I didn't get my act together. I didn't get to the store in a timely manner, right? I'm doing whatever I'm doing and I show up and the bus from the nursing home shows up. Oh, right? My fault. Always my fault. Now, there was a time when I absolutely loved justifiable anger. Oh, it was so much fun to nurture that, to cultivate it, to cherish it, right? Like a fun little pet, you just like kind of pet and go, whoa, right? Now, there was a time, long time ago, when I was certainly more physically active, and I used to do kickboxing. I loved kickboxing, right? A good roundhouse kick, it was a great way to diffuse anger. And I had this need to physically dominate my world, right? Today, it just seems like an awful lot of work. Right? Like it's like going to the gym. It's like, I don't think I want to do that. That's just no fun anymore. You see, today, guys, that internal churning has been replaced with love, right? I don't need to do those things anymore. My life is so significantly different. I hope that every cell of my body permeates a certain amount of serenity and contentedness, right? That's what I want from life. Every single day I wake up as a result of the 11th step, right? I get to surrender my opinion, my judgment, and what I think about you and what I know of God. Because those things change on a daily basis, right? My story doesn't change. What changes is my recovery. What changes is my relationship with God. So I want to ask a question. How many of you guys understand aviation mechanics, can fix an airplane or an aircraft of any kind? Oh, I see one hand back there. All right. How many of you understand aerodynamics, right? Coefficient of lift. All right. Oh, awesome. How many of you can actually physically fly that aircraft? All right. But does that stop you from getting on an airplane at Philadelphia and flying to Miami? No, right? We get on that aircraft. First of all, we get to Philadelphia. We go through TSA. We go through security. We get annoyed with everybody, right? And then we stand in line like, what do they call it? Gate lice, right? Just to make sure we're first in line to put our bags up on overhead cabins. But what's our job? We sit down, we shut up, we put our seatbelt on, and we enjoy the flight, right? See, guys, I don't have to understand how an aircraft works in order to use it, right? I don't have to understand how God works in order to have God work in my life. Right? I just need to trust that it does. Just like we trust that that aircraft is going to get us from point A to point B, right? I'm sure we all have one of these, right? Now, there is more computing technology in this phone than there ever was for the 1969 moonshot, right? Going to the moon. That's amazing, right? Because those servers back in 1969 took up rooms and rooms and rooms at NASA, and now we've got it in our hand. But I still don't know how this works, right? Now, there are radio waves out there that, our cell technology uses. I can't see it, I can't feel it, I can't taste it. Yet I know that if I, go to my phone, there might be a message waiting for me. But there's stuff that I have to do to make sure that this device works. I have to make sure that it's charged, right? I need to go over here into settings. let's see if I get this right. I have to go over here to general, right? And then I have to go to cellular and click it on. And when I click it, when I take the action, I'm connected to my device. I'm connected to those radio waves. And I'm connected to Ron, and I'm connected to John, and I'm connected to, my kids who are all over the continent, right? See, that's what God is like with me, right? I don't have to understand God, but there are actions that I have to take every single day to stay connected. Now, that doesn't mean that I have a message every single second of the day. No, right? When I get off an airplane, I turn on my cellular data, and guess what? Ding, 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 all sorts of messages, right? But sometimes there aren't any messages. But does that mean I'm not connected? No, I'm still connected, as long as I've taken the action. Sorry. All right. So our 12th step, I'm a big 12-step girl, guys. Our 12th step says, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all of our affairs. For me, and only for me, step 12 is a 3-part step. The first part is a promise. It's a guarantee. If I do the first 11 steps, I am guaranteed a spiritual awakening. It might not be, right? It could be of the educational variety. But if I do the work, if I take the action, I'm guaranteed a spiritual awakening. Now, I brought a cake mix. Super moist triple chocolate fudge cake mix. Now, if I was better prepared, I would have bought one for all of you. And we would all come back tomorrow and we would have a taste test, right? So this requires, hold on. All right, this requires a cup of water, half a cup of vegetable oil, and 3 eggs. And I'm willing to guarantee that we wouldn't get all exactly the same cakes, right? Because I'm looking at this going, 3 eggs. That's a lot of cholesterol. Maybe I'll use egg substitute. Maybe Ron is going to say, you know what, half a cup of vegetable oil? Maybe I'll use applesauce because, I'm looking after my figure. All right? John over here is saying, a cup of water, that's pretty bland. Maybe I'll use apple juice. All right. So what we get is some version of a chocolate cake, right? And I'm thinking, triple chocolate fudge? That's not chocolatey enough, man. I'm throwing in chocolate chips. I'm throwing in Hershey bar, whatever it happens to be, right? So we get some version of a cake, but it's not this. But if I want this, I have to follow this exactly, right? So if I want what the first 100 who got and stayed sober had, I have to do what they did, which means following the steps exactly, right? No variation, no substituting. I just got to do what they did. So the second part of step 12 is to to carry this message to alcoholics. This message. Right? Well, where is this message? For me, and only for me, it's found in the first edition of the foreword to the first edition. We at Alcoholics Anonymous are more than 100 men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body to show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book. Precisely. There is no wiggle room in precisely, right? It's pretty concrete and direct. You see, guys, as a result of this program, right? As a result of that spiritual awakening, I now have the charge, and the charge is to carry the message. Our big book uses the word approach 28 times. See, I have a responsibility as a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous to go out and find the newcomer. I have no idea where we get this idea that the newcomer is supposed to come and find me, right? Do you remember what it was like when you were new? How this phone weighed 1,000 pounds? How you sat there in the corner like this, hoping nobody would see you, not making eye contact with anybody? How am I going to ask for help, right? I don't even know what's wrong with me. Page 18 of our book says, but the ex-problem drinker who has found this solution, who is properly armed with the facts about himself, can generally win the confidence of another alcoholic in but a few hours, right? So I have that responsibility. And I go to wind-up joints, the places I wind up if I drink again. Jails, rehabs, detoxes. I go to beginner meetings, and I go to great fishing spots, and I look for that newcomer. And in my home group, I look for that newcomer, that face I don't recognize, and I'll go up to them and say, "Hi, are you new?" And they're usually like, "Oh God, here she comes," right? But, "Hi, are you new?" "Yes, welcome. My name is Lovey. Here's the coffee, here are the bathrooms, or here are the donuts, there are the bathrooms. Here's a meeting schedule. Here's some really great big book meetings, right? Here's a book. Please come and sit with me. Let me introduce you to some people. Would you like to go for coffee after the meeting and talk?" Another new face, especially in Bermuda. "Hi, are you new?" No, I'm just visiting." "Welcome. My name is Lovey. Here's the coffee. Here are the scones," because we don't donut in Bermuda. We scone. "Here are the scones. Here are the bathrooms. Here are the meetings closest to your hotel. How can I be of help to you while you're on our beautiful island, right? Do you need a ride? What can I do to help you?" Another new face. "Hi, are you new?" No. I got 30 years of resentment and a coffee pot, and I'm here to create chaos." "Welcome. My name is Lovey. Here's the coffee. Here are the donuts. Here's the bathroom. Here's a brand new minted meeting schedule. Here's a 4th edition book, just in case you're still working from the 3rd. Come and sit with me. Let me introduce you to some people." You see, guys, I get to do this today, right? You know, I said that I get to surrender my opinion and my judgment. My only job today is to love God's kids right here, right now, on their journey without judgment or opinion, period, right? Now, there's a line in our book that says, love and tolerance of others is our code. Love and tolerance. I don't like the word tolerance. This alcoholic, it comes from a place of spiritual hubris. I am just putting up with you and your nonsense, right? But if I'm really loving God's kids, I have to come from a place of compassion, right? I'm putting myself in your footsteps or in your shoes, right? Again, I get to love you where you happen to be on your journey. There's another line in our book that says that, was I kind and loving to all? Well, I can generally say yes, right? In action, I'm kind and loving to everyone. I can behave really well for an hour in Alcoholics Anonymous, right? But it's how do I behave when I'm out there? How do I behave when I'm on 95? How do I behave on the busiest travel day, in the airport, and I'm at JFK, bustling and hustling trying to get through the airport? How do I behave? How do I behave when nobody is watching? So, I was going someplace with that. How do I behave? Anyway, we'll come back to that, maybe. Probably not. That's what that means. I've forgotten. But anyway, so the third part of step 12 is to practice these principles in all of our affairs, right? All of my affairs. Every last single one of them. And that is the challenge. That is the challenge of living as a sober woman in Alcoholics Anonymous. That is the challenge of living as, a child of God. Right? How do I do that? So today I choose to live by the spiritual principles of compassion, love, humility, goodwill. There's humor involved in that too. Fidelity, restitution, acceptance, consideration. Right? Now, I mentioned restitution. I'm going to tell you about 2 amends that I had to make. When I got sober, my husband and I had been already married for 25 years. There are still, to this day, signed, unfiled divorce papers in the safe. He said to me, if you don't shape up, we're getting a divorce. So I think the worst thing that I could ever do to my family is give them false hope, right? So those divorce papers are sitting there. But when I made amends to him, I said to him, what more can I do to make this right? And he got down on one knee and he said, please be my wife. And this was after 25 years of marriage. So see, guys, today I get to be a wife to my husband. My life revolves around his schedule. I have lost my ability to work, right? I'm not flying anymore. But when he walks through the door, dinner is on the table for him. I get to wash and iron his clothes. I get to clean the house. Because the way I was going, there was going to be no marriage. There was going to be no house. I was going to be sleeping on cardboard somewhere, right? And then, a year after I made amends to him, he bought me new jewelry. He gave me new rings, and they're amethyst. And amethyst is the stone that signifies sobriety, right? So every day I get to look at my new wedding rings and go, right? I'm a sober woman in Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm a sober wife. Now, I also had to make amends to a government agency that oversees aviation in the United States. And I've been putting it off for a really long time. And I've got one of these really great sponsors, Did you do it yet? No. Did you do it? No. Are you going to do it? No. Get it done. Okay. So, guys, one of my character defects is smug superiority, and I really think I'm smarter than my sponsor. And so I decided to call my attorney. And I said, hey there, Mr. Attorney, this is what my sponsor wants me to do. And the attorney says, no. We worked so hard to keep you out of jail. You are not going to do that. Guys, I am vindicated, glib and smugly superior. And I go back to my sponsor. I go, hey there, spons. This is what my attorney said. And my sponsor pats me on the head rather condescendingly and goes, oh, that is so sweet. Pray for the willingness to be willing. Get on your knees. There's a line in our book that said, if the indicated action is to be taken, we must not shirk. And I did, right? And I made arrangements to go to this agency, and I took my attorney because I knew I was going to need him, and I took my union rep and a sober pilot. And as I stood before this agency, I told them that I was a sober woman in Alcoholics Anonymous, and that my sobriety was predicated on making right the wrongs of my past. And I was willing to accept any judgment that they made for me, whatever it happened to be. Guys, I could have been arrested and remanded to custody on the spot. But see, by this time, I'd already developed a relationship with God. There was a man on that panel that said, I too am a sober man in Alcoholics Anonymous, and I know exactly what you want to do. He said, this is what we want you to do. Never drink again, one day at a time. And we want you to help share what alcoholism is and what it isn't in the aviation community. Guys, I will never work again. My wings have been clipped, right? I'm grounded. But that's okay. Because I now get to spend every single day in recovery. I get to spend my days in this book. I get to sponsor a lot of people. I get to sponsor a lot of people in aviation. See, those are the things that I get to do as a sober woman today. I know we're running out of time because I'm looking at the clock, but there's always a grand plan and more will be revealed. I want to tell you about that baby that I had when I was 14 and placed for adoption. That baby is now a full-grown man. He's a combat surgeon and holds the rank of lieutenant colonel. And he works pretty much exclusively with civilian refugee populations. Right? Took me 35 years, pour me another drink, to understand the divine purpose of his birth. You see, I was merely a vessel, right? I was a womb. His adoptive parents cared for him, nurtured him, provided him with opportunity. The military trained him. And God put this young man where he would be of maximum service, right? One of my most favorite lines in the book is on page 77, and it says, our real purpose as individuals is to fit ourselves, right? That doesn't sound convenient. It does not sound comfortable. It's like trying to pack like 11 linebackers into a Fiat, right? Or Fiat. But our real purpose is to fit ourselves, to be of maximum service to God and the people around us. Guys, I am so honored and so privileged to be a part of God's grand plan today. Can't even begin to tell you what that's like. If you're new or nearly new, please get a sponsor, somebody who has experience in the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, and do the work, because you're worth it. And if you're a veteran of this program, please, I beg you, I beseech you, I implore you, reach your hand out to a newcomer and show them that this program works, because it's been absolutely the most amazing thing that I've ever done. And I have a minute, and I would like to close with page 164 of the book. It says, our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to us and more to you and to us. Ask him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come if your own house is in order. But obviously you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is the great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God, Admit your faults to him and to your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then. Guys, thank you so much for allowing me to participate in my sobriety tonight. Thanks.
Okay, good evening again. My name is Brian. I'm an alcoholic. First and foremost, I want to thank Lovey for coming out here tonight, delivering an incredible message of hope and recovery to our group here. A couple quick announcements, and we'll wrap up the meeting here. Again, the food and the fellowship for this group starts at 8 o'clock every week, so feel free to show up early, enjoy the coffee, the refreshments that we put out. If you want to get involved with service with this group, we could always use help. There's a lot of moving parts to making this meeting happen every week, so if you want to get involved, just see me, see a home group member after the meeting. There's always a meeting after the meeting. We could always use some help if you want to do a little service work. Right now, we could use help putting the chairs away. We put away these chairs in the front and the ones on the sides, the ones at the tables back there, stay right where they are. But more importantly, if you're out there and if you're new or if you're struggling, hang out with us. There'll be a whole group of us hanging out after the meeting. We'd love to talk with you, get you, some numbers, some meetings to get into. It's customary for us to thank our speakers as they come here on their own time and expense. So we do usually form a line in the front here, and we thank our speakers personally. Just want to thank everybody for helping out with the meeting tonight, our greeters, our readers, and most importantly, let's thank our speaker, Lovey, one more time. And if you do care to join us, we have a beautiful way of closing. We'll circle up. We're going to circle up. And if you do care to join us, we will close down the meeting as always with a brief moment of silence for the still sick and suffering alcoholic inside and outside of these rooms, followed by our Lord's Prayer. Our Father,